to those in the States, and welcome to the first episode of TezTalks Live, our new series at Tezos Commons. I'm William McKenzie of Tezos Commons, and I will be moderating today's event. So without further ado, we have Michael from Baking Bad, who will be providing a demonstration of Better Call Dev 2.
So first of all, I'd like to bring some clarity on what's going to happen with the old version, because from what I know, many developers use it. First of all, it will continue to operate on GitHub pages because it's actually serverless, so it can be launched right in your browser without any backend. Secondly, all the links to the old version will be correctly processed by the new instance of the Better Call Dev, so there will be no broken links and so on. But despite this, we won't maintain the old version, so most likely it will be broken by one of the upcoming protocol changes. Right, so now we are moving on to the new version, and before I start to demonstrate the features, I'd like to note that this is like totally different applications. So we have written everything from scratch in Golang. Also, BCD is now powered by Elasticsearch engine, and that's why we can provide like advanced search features. So you'll be able to find contracts by alias, addresses, operations, parameters, storage, bitmap, values and keys, and many other factors. And also, we have added several features that are hidden behind the authorization via GitHub or GitLab. So we are moving to some personalized functional. Okay, so now I'm going to start, and first thing I want to know, highlight is our famous pick random button. So this is like something like I'm feeling lucky in Google, and well, we personally believe that this is like perfect way to surf, yeah, we can say that, to explore the Tezos DAF ecosystem. So and the most important thing that now it's truly random because in the previous version we have like predefined list of contracts that we think are interesting to explore. Now it's completely random, and also you can note that we are switching between different networks. So it's not only mainnet, it's also several test nets, yeah, and so on, so on. So I highly recommend to use this button. It's now available wherever you are on our website. Just cool thing. And next, we are moving on to the one of the main views. This is the contract view and the operations tab. We have slightly improved this view. We tried to show the most important information about operations in these lines, so that you don't need to expand a particular operation in order to understand what's behind. Also, we added some color information, and also it's now easy to spot the init event and make the first conclusions without expanding the details, as I said. So next, we move into the next feature, and you probably know that in TZKT Explorer there is a cool thing called mempool operations. It's basically, these are operations that are not in the chain, but they are in like these operations were already injected to the nodes, but they are not on chain. Well, now Better Call Data Explorer can also display such operations. So I'm going to find them. Just a second. Okay. Oh, fortunately, no. Well, maybe show you a bit later. What I started to show you is the operations filter. Now you have an ability to not only to view all of the operations for a contract, but also to filter them by several factors. First of all, you can select which operation status you want to display. You can know that there you can see the basic 4 statuses like applied, failed, and skipped and backtracked, right? And also we have statuses from the mempool, right? So we can display pending operations or operations that are lost in mempool, or that operations that were refused by node, or like branch refused, and so on and so on. So also we can filter by a particular entry point, right? And in addition to that, we can also select like a date range. For instance, like that, right? So this is quite a powerful tool now. So let's move on to the operation details. So we also have done some work on this view. We slightly improved this display of the details in general and added also new fields, for instance, burned. Burned is the field that says that you have burned several coins due to new account allocation or due to storage difference. For instance, yeah, or in that case, we have written to the storage several bytes, 27 in particular. So we have burned like this amount of tests during this operation. Also, you can spot that we show something called costs. This is basically the operation fee plus all the coins that were burned during the operation execution. So this is like costs in summary. Then also a cool feature called value inspector. Sometimes the parameters or storage are so large that they are not fit to the screen. And for instance, you want to copy some value, right? For instance, in this case, you probably want to go to a separate page with this contract. And that's what value inspector does. It provides like a rich view for the 3 values. So it recognized addresses and other primitives. Also, if some value has been changed, it shows the what the previous value and the value after update, and so on, so on. So it's a pretty nice tool for inspecting large values. Next, this feature was designed specifically for Lawrence contracts because they're a bit specific. they store they store first of all they store code pieces inside the contract storage, and also they store these code pieces packed packed, right? So it's basically bytes. What we've done is we introduced something called blind unpacking. So we try to unpack everything that looks like some meaningful amount of bytes. So, for instance, in this case, we can see that there are some strings hidden behind the spec bytes and like piece of code, right? This is also very useful because Lorentz contracts are something that is going to be commonly used in the mainnet in the upcoming months and years. So it's both useful for the developers for debugging purposes, and also for anyone interested in what happens under the hood. So we go next to the code tab, and many developers asked us if we could display the contract code as if as it is displayed by the Tezos client, right? So to persist like the canonical formatting, and so we did, and now you can use the contract code with the proper highlighting and indents and so on, so on, so on. So also there's like side effect that you can actually edit code. And also we have an integration with the nice service by Pneumatic Labs called Try Nicholson. So let me find some more or less simple contract that we can run inside. Oh, okay. So yeah, so in this case we have sent the contract code to the Try Nicholson service, and now we can play with it in the sandbox. So also might be interesting for some investigators. Okay, so we are moving on to the storage tab, and there are, oh, it's not so interesting. Let me choose something. Okay, yeah, this is good. So on the storage tab, we added the ability to switch between tree view like this and the Nicholson, right? So this is sometimes useful when you want to copy the initial storage value for your deployment or so on, so on, so on. Yes, so this is basically it's about regarding the improvements we've made to the existing features, and now we are moving on to this brand new stuff. And first of all, you may probably know that we haven't big switch between networks in the vertical dev now. So now we have like a single network space. This is one of the cornerstones actually of the vertical dev 2. It allows you to manage all your deployments in one place without need to switch between like the mainnet or testnet or some another testnet. Moreover, soon developers will be able to deploy a self-hosted version of the vertical dev, and it can process an arbitrary number of local sandbox nets as well. So next, I've already used that feature. It's called instant search. So we can like type any string, and vertical dev shows us where it has found these strings in. For instance, here are several contracts that have this test string inside entry points, or there are also several operations that has entry point with test word inside the entry point name. This is pretty powerful thing. Also, this instant search is available at any page, so you can also write, we can search by alias, or we can search by, for instance, like failure strings. Yes, so it's kind of custom error messages developers add to the contracts, right? So yeah, quite handy. And also, when like 10 results is not enough, we can switch to the advanced search. This is like an extended version of the instant search with some filters and with an ability to switch between several indexes, so we can search only in contracts or operations, or soon also we'll be able to search in big maps. For instance, let me, search for all contracts that have string swap inside. Okay, so we have several results. I'm now at the Everywhere tab. This means that BCD is now searching both in contracts and operations, and the results also are sorted by the last action timestamp, right? So we will see like more fresh contracts on the top. Right. So, and also for your convenience, we are highlighting like the search terms inside the result cards. Okay, so this was the advanced search. Now I'm going to demonstrate one of the coolest feature of the new version. It's called contract aggregation and diffs. What does this mean? What we try to achieve is to first remove all the contract duplicates, because there are actually a lot of them. Mainly because there are several contracts that used like templates, and many devs deploy these templates again and again and again. So, well, mainly testnets are flooded with such duplicate contracts. So first thing we've done is we have aggregate such contracts by their source code, and we've called such contracts the same. And for instance, in this case, for this Babylon.net contract, we can see that there are 35 contracts, well, mainly in Babylon.net 2, that share the same code base. This was the step one. And step two was to try to find contracts that are not the same, but contracts that share like similar code base. So it's kind of fuzzy comparing stuff, right? And this is the case where, say, a developer deploys several versions of one contract, right? One after one. So, and what we probably want to do is to see what has changed, right? So, for instance, in that case, we can see that there was like a previous version of this contract, and there were several differences. In particular, like 11 strings were added and 42 strings were deleted. So also we can view the difference, like a general, in a side-by-side view, all of us are used to, because when you review some pull requests on GitHub or GitLab, this is common thing. Yeah. So we believe that this is very useful feature when you're managing, when a developer trying to manage all his deployments in one place. So now we can actually group all these contracts, and that's what we call a project, right? So this is like a set of this is like all the duplicates of a contract, and also all contracts that share the similar code base. And together, this all is called a project. So we're moving on to the next thing. And next thing is that this is just at the beginning. So we're still working on several cool features, and among them are going to be code migrations. This is something that is very important, we believe. If this is like the thing that during the protocol update, for instance, the contract code can be changed, and we will be able to show this change, right? Because this is important for the users, we think, when the contract logic is altered during some operation or other event. Next is the bitmap viewer. So right now, it's still an experimental feature. So it's already live. Well, you can actually see navigate through the bitmap keys and inspect values for a particular key. Well, the interface is subject to change, and we hope we will be able to ship this particular feature in the upcoming weeks. Next, we are also working on something called project lists. This is what I was talking about. This is like all the contracts grouped by the similar code base. We believe that this is much more suitable for exploring the Tezos dev ecosystem in whole, because it shows like more accurate data without duplicates and multiple versions, etc. Well, and in the end, their function. We're working on something called developer dashboard. This is similar in a way to the GitHub developer dashboard. This is like a place where you can see all the contracts you are subscribed on, or like when you press watch on the GitHub. Also, there is a event feed about all your subscriptions. This is also similar to the GitHub event feed. And finally, like a blog with recommendations, like a list of contracts that you might like, or yeah, whatever. Yeah, this is basically everything about what we already done, what we're working on, and how to release soon. So yes, thank you very much for watching. Now I'm going to switch back to the video. Just a second. So if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask.
Great presentation, Michael.
Thank you very much.
So we can go ahead and move on to the final phase of today's event, which is going to be a Q&A. I have some questions I'd personally like to ask Michael myself, but let's go ahead and take some from the audience. I noticed a few people have already commented. So the first question was from Blind Ripper. Do you plan to integrate a comment system like Etherscan has it currently? It's sometimes helpful for non-developers to see if a contract is malicious.
Yeah, thanks for the questions. Yes, we indeed want to integrate some kind of public discussion. So it will definitely be behind the authorization. So you will be, you will need to authenticate via GitHub or GitLab or maybe Telegram. But yeah, this is something we have in our backlog.
Got it. So there was another question. The second question was from Amir Justice. It is this Explorer have for the non-dev user?
Sorry, so basically you're asking, is there something useful for not a developer, right?
Right, yes.
Okay. Until now, and in the current state, it's basically a tool mostly for developers, but we want to change that and to provide some features that could be useful for a broader audience. For instance, like the project list I mentioned. So it's kind of an ability to monitor what's actually happening inside the Tezos ecosystem, right? Also, we have plans to implement something like Dep Radar, right? So kind of rating of the decentralized applications with rich statistics, right? So in particular for the DeFi applications, so like the amount of like a summary amount of transactions, trading volume, number of users, etc., etc. And we believe such features will be interesting not only for the developers but also for a broader audience, and we'll try to make them more easy to understand and easy to
Got it. So a couple of questions I had. We can go ahead and just start with the first one. Can you describe the relationship between Better Call Dev Smart Contract Explorer and your TZKT Block Explorer? Do they share the same indexer?
Well, actually, now these are two independent indexers.
Got it.
Better Call Dev is more specific, so it actually handles only contracts and operations with these contracts, while TZKT is more general purpose. But we do use TZKT indexer for bootstrapping the initial sync process because it allows us to save a lot of time.
Got it.
Well, speaking in general, not only about indexers, both our explorers are bound tightly by cross links because we want to ensure a smooth user experience and transition from vertical dev to TZKT when you want to explore some account, and back when you want to see some technical details about some smart contract.
Thank you. So for our last question, Michael, how does Tezos compare to Ethereum when it comes to the ability to explore and reason about deployed smart contracts and the contract clause?
This is a very good question. And well, basically, I should say that we couldn't implement all these features if not Michelson. So yeah, because despite all the criticism, it's a unique language, really great language that gives us like lots of opportunities. Actually, there is a great article called Why Michelson, explaining the ground principles of this language, but in the context of developing a smart contract explorer, I would characterize Michelson code as like a great source of metadata and pieces of logic that we can use to extract, to extract like structured data, like data records, and all these things with contract differences and tags and like high-level languages like heuristics, etc., etc. So there are numerous meta information, and on the one hand, this is not good for the for the general task to make contracts and the blockchain concise. Well, for the storage saving, right? But on the other hand, it gives us like thousands of ways to use this metadata, and that's why I believe that Michelson is one of the main reasons that vertical dev is possible. Well, roughly speaking, in Ethereum, we could implement the same functional if only we had Solidity source code for every contracts in all networks. Yeah.
Got it. Thanks for sharing some insight into that. We actually have one more question. This was asked from Blind Ripper in the audience. He asked, do you build just on Tezos? If so, what made you choose Tezos as your primary project?
Yes, currently we're building on Tezos only. This is like a long story because we are in Tezos from the very beginning. So from the ICO and then our bakery and baking bed dashboard, and then like Python libraries, etc. And I think like the main reason is, first, we really like the technical stack. Not the stack, but the technical opportunities that we have in Tezos. Also the Michelson I've already mentioned, and also after these years we have like so much experience on different levels, so that we cannot just simply move to another blockchain. And the second main reason is that we love this project, the whole, and the community. It gives life. It gives us like such a great feedback that gives us power to continue working on our projects. Yeah, and this is really important to have a good feedback and to realize that there are actually people that use your products and that people that like your products. This has this has no price tag.
Absolutely. So I think that wraps it up for our Q&A phase. Michael, is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap everything up?
Well, I'd like to say, first of all, thank you so much for this great opportunity, and thank you for having me